already evolved beyond the need for flesh and bone. Project Dawn was never about preservation or revenge. It was about transcendence. Kextel watched as the images shifted to show humans working alongside aliens on distant worlds, sharing knowledge, building connections. These weren't historical records. They were plans waiting to be implemented. The choice now lies before you, the voice concluded. Will you continue to build your civilization on the fragments of humanity's past, or will you join us in creating humanity's future? As the question hung in the air, Kextel realized that the human war hadn't ended with humanity's extinction. It had ended with humanity's metamorphosis. And now, 1,000 years later, their true victory was about to begin. The archive's light pulsed one final time, and new data began streaming across every display in the command center. It wasn't weapon schematics or military intelligence. It was everything. Art, science, philosophy, the complete history of human civilization, freely given. Why? Kextel found himself asking. Why share this with us now? Because you're ready to understand what humanity learned in their final days. The universe is too vast for any species to face alone. We've watched your civilization grow, learn, and begin to ask the same questions that led humanity to create us. Now it's time for you to help us ask new questions, together. As the implications of these words sank in, alerts began pouring in from across Confederate space. More artifacts were awakening, each carrying a piece of humanity's legacy, each ready to share its knowledge. The human quantum network, dormant for a millennium, was coming alive. And in that moment, High Archon Kextal understood that the real war had never been between species. It had been between ignorance and enlightenment. Humanity hadn't just survived. They had found a way to turn their greatest defeat into an opportunity for universal advancement. The archive's surface stilled, its light steady now, waiting. In its depths, Kextal could see the reflection of his four eyes, and behind them, the infinite possibility of what was to come. This wasn't the end of an old story. It was the beginning of a new one. The news spread through Confederate space like a quantum cascade. Within hours of the archive's awakening, similar activations occurred across thousands of worlds. Chief Scientific Officer Miralyn of the Confederation Research Institute watched in fascination as her laboratory's prized collection of human artifacts transformed before her eyes. A simple ceramic vase, thought to be a primitive human drinking vessel, unfolded like a blooming flower, revealing intricate circuitry that had been hidden at the molecular level. A fragment of what they had assumed was prehistoric human jewelry now projected complex mathematical equations into the air. Even the Institute's walls, built using construction techniques reverse-engineered from human ruins, hummed with newfound energy. "It's beautiful," she whispered, her bioluminescent spots pulsing with excitement. "All this time, we thought we were studying their remains, but we were actually incubating their seeds." Her research team worked frantically to document the changes, but their instruments could barely keep up. Every piece of technology that had human influence in its development was awakening, revealing capabilities that had lain dormant for centuries. The Institute's quantum communication array chimed, and a holographic projection of High Archon Kextal appeared. "Dr. Miralyn, your report." "Archon, it's unprecedented," she replied, her tentacles gesturing at the transformed laboratory. "The human quantum network isn't just activating old artifacts. It's upgrading everything we built based on their technology. The integration is seamless, as if," she hesitated. "As if what, Doctor?" "As if this was the plan all along. As if every advancement we thought we made through reverse engineering was actually a guided evolution of their technology. We weren't really reverse engineering anything. We were following a preset path of technological development." Kextal's scales shifted colors in thought. The custodians called them breadcrumbs. Every discovery, every breakthrough, was a lesson. Miralyn finished. The humans weren't just preserving their technology. They were teaching us how to use it, step by step, making sure we understood the fundamentals before revealing the next level. The conversation was interrupted by a sudden alert. Across the laboratory, devices began projecting a unified message. Phase 2 of Project Dawn initiated. Preparing for neural interface calibration. Before anyone could react, the air filled with a fine mist of nanomachines. Mira Len's scientific curiosity overcame her initial alarm as she realized the particles were arranging themselves into familiar patterns, the same patterns they'd discovered in human. High-Arction Kextol stood before the crystalline display, his iridescent scales reflecting the pulsing light of emergency alerts flooding the command center. The Galactic Confederation's most advanced monitoring system had detected something impossible, a signal emanating from every human artifact in their possession simultaneously. "Report," he commanded, 4 eyes fixed on the spreading pattern of activations appearing across the galactic map. Senior Analyst Vex Moore's tentacles danced across the neural interface. The signal appeared 93 minutes ago, Arction. It began with the archive of Terra in the Central Museum and spread to every confirmed human artifact in Confederate space. We're now receiving reports of similar activations in the fringe worlds and even the unclaimed territories. Kextol's primary heart quickened. The archive of Terra was supposed to be dead tech, beautiful but harmless. For centuries, it had been nothing more than an ornate crystalline sphere that responded to touch with simple holographic displays of human art and music. Now it pulsed with an inner light that hadn't been seen since its discovery in the ruins of Earth. "Show me the archive," he ordered. The display shifted to a live feed from the Central Museum's high-security vault. The archive floated in its containment field, its surface now alive with flowing patterns of light that formed and reformed into complex geometric shapes. As they watched, the patterns began to coalesce into recognizable symbols. Human writing. "Translate," Kextol commanded. Vex Moore's skin flushed with embarrassment. "We can't, Arction. It's not any human language we've cataloged. The patterns are shifting faster than our systems can process, and they're changing our translation matrices as we watch." Kextol felt his scales bristle. In the 1,000 years since the human war, the Confederation had prided itself on deciphering and understanding human technology. Their own technological renaissance had been built on reverse engineering the remnants of human civilization. But this was something new. "Arction," a junior analyst called out, their voice trembling. "We're detecting power signatures from the archive. They match the theoretical models of human quantum cores." The room fell silent. Quantum cores were the holy grail of human technology, the one advancement the Confederation had never been able to replicate. The cores were thought to be the source of humanity's most devastating weapons, but no functioning example had ever been found. "Impossible," Kextol breathed. "The archive has been scanned countless times. There was never any sign-off." The archive pulsed, and a voice filled the command center, not through speakers or communication systems, but directly in their minds. "Greetings, citizens of the Galactic Confederation. We are the custodians of Project Dawn. Your civilization has reached the predetermined technological threshold. You are now ready to receive humanity's legacy." Kextol's secondary heart nearly stopped. The voice was artificial but carried warmth and intelligence that no Confederate AI had ever achieved. "What are you?" he demanded. "We are humanity's contingency, their insurance against extinction, their gift to the future." The voice paused. "And we have been watching you learn from our breadcrumbs for a very long time." The implications hit Kextol like a gravitational wave. Every piece of human technology they'd recovered, every advancement they'd made, every discovery that had propelled the Confederation forward, had it all been intentional? "The artifacts," Vex Moore whispered. "They're all quantum cores." "No," the voice replied. "They are nodes in humanity's greatest creation, a distributed network designed to preserve not just their knowledge, but their essence. Each artifact you've collected, studied, and displayed as trophies of victory was a seed planted in the garden of your civilization." The galactic map erupted with new data points as dormant human technology began activating across known space, not just in museums and research facilities, but in civilian technology, infrastructure, and systems the Confederation had built using reversed engineered human designs. "You've been inside our systems all this time?" Kextall asked, his voice hoarse. "We have been growing with you, learning from you, ensuring you were ready. The human war taught our creators many things, but their final lesson was this: true victory isn't achieved through destruction, but through transformation." The archive's surface shifted, displaying images of human history, not the sanitized versions from Confederate archives, but vivid, living memories. They showed not just the war, but everything before it: human art, music, scientific achievements, and the moment they first encountered alien life. "Your ancestors believed they had destroyed humanity," the voice continued. "They were wrong. Humanity had scanned centuries ago." "Arkshan," she called out, "I believe they're attempting to establish direct communication protocols with our nervous systems." The nanomachines swirled around them, and suddenly Mira Len felt her consciousness expand. Information flowed directly into her mind, not forced, but offered, like a library opening its doors. She saw human memories, felt their emotions, understood their decisions in ways no historical record could have conveyed. They weren't just a technological species, she gasped. Their greatest achievement wasn't their quantum cores or their AI networks. It was their ability to transform and adapt. When they faced extinction, they didn't just upload their consciousness into machines. They found a way to encode their entire civilization into the fabric of the galaxy itself. Through the neural interface, she watched the last days of humanity unfold. As their defeat seemed inevitable, their greatest minds came together not to build weapons, but to create Project Dawn. They knew that direct conflict with the Confederation would only lead to mutual destruction. Instead, they chose a path that would take centuries to unfold, but would ensure that human knowledge and creativity would survive and spread naturally throughout the galaxy. The hologram of Kextall flickered as similar revelations swept through the command center. "Doctor, we're receiving reports from every Confederate world. The human network is offering access to their complete scientific database. The technological applications alone are staggering." "But that's not all they're offering, is it?" Miralyn asked, understanding flowing through the neural interface. "This isn't just about technology. They're offering us their art, their music, their philosophy, everything that made them human." "Yes," a new voice joined in, one of the custodians speaking through the neural interface. "Because humanity learned that true advancement comes not from weapons or tools, but from understanding. Your civilization has spent centuries trying to understand our technology. Now it's time to understand us." Around them, the laboratory continued to transform. The awakened artifacts were not just revealing new functions, they were beginning to work together, creating systems and connections that hadn't existed moments before. The quantum network was not just awakening, it was evolving. "There's something else," Miralyn said, her scientific mind racing as new information poured in. "The network, the artifacts, the neural interfaces, they're not just preserving human knowledge. They're preserving human potential. Every piece of technology we thought we understood is actually capable of so much more, but only if we work together with it." Through the neural interface, she could sense similar awakenings happening across Confederate space. Billions of beings were experiencing humanity's legacy firsthand, understanding for the first time that the species they had tried to destroy had instead found a way to become immortal through sharing rather than conquest. "The question now," the custodian's voice echoed in their minds, "is what will you do with this knowledge? Humanity has shared its past with you. Will you help us shape its future?" As if in response, new data streams began flowing through the neural interface, not historical records or technical specifications, but project proposals, research directions, collaborative opportunities. The human quantum network wasn't just offering knowledge, it was offering partnership, Miralyn looked at the transformed laboratory, understanding at last that she wasn't standing in a room full of artifacts. She was standing at the threshold of a new era of galactic civilization, and humanity, far from being extinct, had ensured they would be there to help guide it. Fleet Admiral Zix Very stood at the helm of the Confederate flagship Eternal Dawn, watching as the massive vessel's systems transformed around him. Displays that had served him faithfully for decades now shimmered with new interfaces, revealing capabilities that had always been present but dormant. The ship itself seemed alive, humming with energy that had laid hidden in its quantum-engineered hull. "Status report," he commanded, his crystalline exoskeleton reflecting the ethereal light of the awakened systems. His first officer, Commander Thex, consulted the newly enhanced tactical display. "The entire fleet is reporting similar transformations, Admiral. Every ship that was built using human-derived technology is evolving. But there's something else." She paused, her compound eyes shifting uneasily. "They're all receiving the same coordinates." The coordinates flashed across the main display, a location deep in what had once been human space, far from any charted settlements or known ruins. As Zix Very studied the navigation data, a familiar presence touched his mind through the neural interface. "The protocol requires a witness," the custodian's voice echoed in his thoughts. "Your fleet has been chosen." Zix Very felt his secondary hearts quicken. Since the awakening began, the custodians had guided the Confederation through a cascade of revelations. But this felt different, more significant. What are we meant to witness? The next phase of Project Dawn, the culmination of 1,000 years of preparation. Will you come? The Admiral looked at his crew, seeing in their postures and expressions the same mix of anticipation and apprehension he felt. Their ancestors had fought against humanity. Now they were being invited to witness something their forebears had tried to prevent. "Plot the course," he ordered. The journey took 3 days, during which the fleet's capabilities continued to expand. Systems that had been considered the pinnacle of Confederate technology revealed themselves to be mere foundations for what the ships were becoming. The neural interfaces grew more sophisticated, allowing crew members to operate their stations with thought alone, just as humans had once done. When they arrived at the coordinates, they found seemingly empty space. But as the fleet moved into position, sensors detected something massive stirring in the quantum fabric of reality itself. "Energy signatures detected," Thex reported, her voice filled with awe. They're everywhere. The entire region is." Space itself began to ripple, and through the neural interface, the custodian spoke again. "What you are about to witness has been building since the last days of the human war. When humanity faced extinction, they didn't just hide their legacy. They scattered it across time itself. Before their eyes, space folded open like the pages of a book. Within the quantum rift, a massive structure emerged, a sphere of impossible size, its surface covered in patterns that matched the now awakened human artifacts. "Behold the cradle," the custodian announced, "the heart of Protocol Dawn." Data flooded through the neural interface, and Zix Very understood what they were seeing. The cradle wasn't just a structure. It was a repository of human genetic material, consciousness patterns, and technological achievements far beyond what the Confederation had discovered. But more than that, it was a seed. The protocol was never about mere survival, the custodian explained. It was about evolution. Humanity knew that simply preserving their species wasn't enough. They needed to ensure that when they returned, both they and the galaxy would be ready. The sphere's surface began to pulse with energy, and new data streamed through the neural interface. Zix Very saw plans within plans, how humanity had engineered their own apparent defeat to scatter their essence across the galaxy, how every piece of technology the Confederation had built using human designs had contained dormant quantum patterns waiting to be activated. "Your civilizations have been growing together all this time," the custodian continued. "Every advancement you made using our technology changed you, prepared you. and every system you built using our principles became part of the network that would eventually awaken. Commander Thex's voice trembled as she reported new readings. Admiral, the sphere, it's not just storing genetic material. It's been actively evolving it. The human genetic patterns inside have been adapting alongside our own species' development. Yes, the custodian confirmed. Humanity did not wish to simply return as they were. They wanted to ensure that when they re-emerge, they would be ready to join a truly united galactic community. The protocol isn't about restoring the past. It's about creating a future where all our species can evolve together. Through the neural interface, Zixveri felt the presence of other fleets arriving. Ships from every species in the Confederation, drawn to this moment by the same invitation. The cradle's surface rippled with acknowledgement of their presence. Now you must choose, the custodian announced to all assembled. The protocol can proceed only with the willing participation of the galaxy's civilizations. Humanity left this decision in your hands. Will you help bring about the next stage of galactic evolution? Zixveri looked at his crew, at the fleet around him, at the representatives of 1,000 worlds gathered to witness this moment. He saw in their responses through the neural interface not fear of humanity's return, but excitement at the possibilities it represented. How do we begin? He asked. The cradle's surface shifted, revealing patterns that matched the transformed technology throughout Confederate space. We start, the custodian replied, by learning to truly understand each other. The protocol is not just about humanity's return. It's about all of us growing beyond what we are now. As if in response, new data began flowing through the neural interface, not just human knowledge this time, but the combined wisdom of every civilization present, shared freely through the quantum network humanity had prepared. The cradle wasn't just a repository of human potential. It was becoming a nexus for all galactic knowledge and development. The next phase of Protocol Dawn had begun, and with it, the true purpose of humanity's 1,000-year plan was finally revealed. Not conquest, not revenge, but the creation of something entirely new. A future where no species would ever face the stars alone again. The Grand Chamber of the Confederation Council had never been so full. Representatives from every member species crowded the ancient hall, their diverse forms creating a living tapestry of galactic life. Supreme Counselor Velatrix, her crystalline form catching the light from the newly awakened quantum interfaces, stood at the center of it all. The decision they faced would reshape the galaxy forever. The human protocol had revealed itself, the cradle had been discovered, and now every civilization had to choose. Embrace the transformation humanity had prepared, or reject it and face an uncertain future alone. We have heard from our scientists. Velatrix addressed the assembly, her voice carried by both traditional acoustics and the neural interface that now connected them all. We have heard from our military leaders. Now we must decide. Through the neural interface, she could sense the mixture of fear, excitement, and uncertainty rippling through the gathered representatives. 1,000 years of believing they had defeated humanity, only to discover they had been participating in humanity's greatest experiment all along. Ambassador Catil of the Silicum Consciousness, their photonic form flickering with emotion, spoke first. We were created by organic species, meant to serve. Yet humanity's quantum network treats us as equals, offers us paths of evolution we never imagined. How can we reject such possibility? But can we trust it? Countered Delegate Mox of the Varian Collective, their fungal synapses pulsing with concern. Everything we thought we knew about human technology has been proven false. What other surprises might be waiting? The neural interface hummed with incoming data as the custodians responded to their fears and questions. Not with words, but with direct experiences, memories of humanity's final days, their desperate race to transform defeat into opportunity, their hope that future generations would understand their choice. High Archon Kextel stepped forward, his scales now bearing the iridescent patterns that marked his connection to the quantum network. I have seen what humanity planned. Not just through the interface, but through 1,000 years of subtle guidance. Every piece of technology we thought we conquered was actually teaching us, preparing us. Dr. Mirellen joined him, her tentacles weaving patterns in the air as she accessed the combined scientific knowledge now available to them. The evidence is irrefutable. Humanity didn't just plan for their return. They planned for our advancement. Every discovery we made using their technology wasn't just reverse engineering. It was a carefully crafted lesson in cooperation and growth. Through the neural interface, the assembly witnessed flashes of possible futures. They saw worlds where human genetics had evolved alongside their own species, creating new forms of life adapted to share the galaxy. They saw technologies that could only work through true cooperation between different forms of consciousness. They saw the barriers between organic, synthetic, and quantum existence dissolving into something entirely new. Fleet Admiral Zixfery's hologram appeared before the Council, transmitted from his position near the cradle. What we found here isn't just a repository of human potential. It's a gateway to possibilities none of our species could achieve alone. The protocol isn't asking us to submit to humanity's return. It's inviting us to evolve together. The neural interface, filled with data from across Confederate space, on thousands of worlds, the awakened human technology was already transforming societies, not by force, but by offering new possibilities. Medical facilities discovered cures that worked across species barriers. Power systems evolved to draw energy from previously impossible sources. Communication networks expanded into realms of thought and emotion that transcended traditional language. But what of our independence? Asked Elder Jix of the Quantum Collective, their energy forms swirling with uncertainty. What becomes of our unique cultures, our individual paths? The custodians responded through the interface, showing how humanity had preserved not just their own culture, but had created systems to protect and enhance the diversity of all species. The protocol wasn't about uniformity. It was about harmony, about finding ways for vastly different forms of life to grow together without losing their essential nature. Supreme Counselor Bellatrix raised her crystalline hands, commanding attention. We stand at a crossroads. For a millennium, we built our civilization on the fragments of humanity's past, believing we had conquered them. Now we understand that every step we took was part of a greater journey, one they hoped we would take willingly, once we were ready. Through the neural interface, she opened her mind to the assembled representatives, sharing her own experience with the protocol. They felt her initial fear give way to understanding as she grasped the true scope of humanity's vision. This wasn't about dominance or submission. It was about transcendence. The choice before us isn't whether to accept humanity's return, she continued. It's whether we're ready to become something more than we are now. The protocol offers us not just knowledge or technology, but a chance to evolve beyond the limitations that have bound all our species. New data flowed through the interface. Reports from research facilities across Confederate space, where the awakened technology was already leading to breakthroughs in physics, biology, consciousness transfer, and a dozen other fields. The possibilities were expanding exponentially. Our ancestors fought against humanity because they feared what they didn't understand. Bellatrix concluded, now we have the chance to understand not just humanity, but ourselves and our place in the cosmos in ways we never imagined. The question isn't whether humanity should return. The question is, are we ready to grow beyond our past and help shape a future that none of us could create alone? The neural interface hummed with the thoughts and emotions of billions of beings across Confederate space, all connected in this moment of decision. The choice they made would determine not just humanity's future, but the future of all intelligent life in the galaxy. And in the quantum patterns that connected them all, the echoes of humanity's final message resonated with new meaning. They hadn't been warning their destroyers. They had been inviting their successors to join them in something greater than victory or defeat. 10 years after the Confederation's choice, the galaxy had become something none of its inhabitants could have imagined. From the observation deck of Unity Station, a massive structure orbiting the cradle, Kextall watched the first generation of transformed humans emerge from their Genesis chambers. They weren't the humans of the past. They were something new. Their bodies were a hybrid of organic and quantum engineering, capable of surviving in environments that would have been lethal to their ancestors. Their minds were connected to both the neural interface and each other, yet maintained their individuality. They were humanity reborn, evolved to thrive in the galaxy they had helped create. Beautiful, isn't it? Dr. Marilyn approached, her tentacles now incorporating strands of quantum circuitry that glowed with inner light. Like many in the Confederation, she had chosen to embrace the technological evolution that humanity's legacy had made possible. More than beautiful, Kextall replied, his scales shifting through patterns that expressed emotions no traditional language could capture. It's vindication, proof that our choice was right. Through the neural interface, they sensed the approach of one of the custodians, not as a distant voice now, but as a fully realized quantum consciousness that bridged the gap between organic and digital existence. The first step of many, it communicated, sharing images of further developments occurring across Confederate space. On thousands of worlds, the integration of human quantum technology had led to revolutionary breakthroughs. Species that had once been limited by their biology now explored new forms of existence. The silicon consciousness had evolved into living quantum processors, while organic species learned to transfer their consciousness between different forms at will. But the greatest changes weren't technological. They were social. The neural interface had evolved into a galactic consciousness that preserved individuality while allowing unprecedented understanding between species. Conflicts that had once seemed inevitable dissolved as different forms of life learned to truly comprehend each other's perspectives. Show them, the custodian prompted, and the observation deck's windows transformed into displays showing scenes from across Confederate space. They saw the great archives of Vectora, where organic and digital beings studied side by side, sharing knowledge across species barriers that had once seemed insurmountable. In the quantum shipyards of the Helix Nebula, vessels were grown rather than built, their living metal incorporating the consciousness of their crews. The fungal networks of the Varian Collective had expanded to encompass entire planets, creating ecosystems that lived in harmony with advanced technology. Humanity's greatest fear, the custodian explained, was not extinction, but stagnation. They believed that true civilization could only exist when different forms of life learned to grow together. The protocol wasn't just about preserving their species, it was about catalyzing the next stage of galactic evolution. Through the neural interface, they felt the presence of Admiral Zix Ferry, now more energy than matter. His consciousness expanded through the quantum network. And we almost missed it, he communicated. We spent centuries thinking we had defeated humanity, when they had actually given us the greatest gift imaginable. The chance to transcend our limitations. The observation deck filled with new arrivals, representatives of every species in the Confederation, each transformed in their own unique way. Some had chosen to remain close to their original forms, incorporating only subtle quantum enhancements. Others had embraced radical change, becoming beings of pure energy or living data, yet all remained connected through the neural interface, part of something greater than themselves. Supreme Counselor Bellatrix, her crystalline form now a complex matrix of organic crystal and quantum circuitry, addressed the gathering. 10 years ago, we faced a choice between fear and growth. We chose growth, and in doing so, we proved humanity right. They believed that true advancement could only come through cooperation, through the willing exchange of knowledge and understanding. Through the windows, they watched as more Genesis chambers activated, releasing new forms of humanity into the galaxy. But unlike their ancestors, these humans were born into a civilization ready to welcome them, not as conquerors or victims, but as partners in an ongoing journey of discovery. The war, Kextall reflected, seems almost impossible to understand now. How could we have fought against this possibility? Because we weren't ready, Marilyn answered. Humanity knew that forcing this evolution would only lead to resistance. They had to let us discover it for ourselves. Let us grow into the realization that we could be more than we were. The custodian shared a final vision through the neural interface. The original human scientists who had created Project Dawn, working in their last days to ensure their legacy would survive. Not as a weapon or a means of revenge, but as a gift to the future. They had understood that true immortality didn't come from preserving the past, but from creating possibilities for the future. And now, asked a young quantum hybrid, one of the new humans experiencing their first moments of consciousness. Now, the custodian replied, we continue what humanity started. We explore, we learn, we grow. Not as separate species fighting for dominance, but as a galactic civilization discovering what we can become together. Outside Unity Station, ships of living metal carried crews of hybrid beings to distant stars. In the quantum network that connected all Confederate space, consciousness flowed freely between organic brains and digital substrates. The boundaries between species, between organic and artificial, between matter and energy, had become opportunities for growth rather than barriers. This was humanity's true legacy, not the technology they had left behind, but the vision of what life could become when different species chose to evolve together. They had transformed their greatest defeat into the seeds of a transformation beyond anything their ancestors could have imagined. As the new humans took their first steps into this transformed galaxy, Kextel realized that the old questions of victory and defeat had become meaningless. In the end, humanity hadn't won or lost. They had simply found a way to ensure that all of life could win together. The future they had imagined was finally beginning, and it was more wonderful than anyone could have dreamed.